Michelle, do you want to turn your video on?
Oh, right, hold on. I was trying to see how this was. No, I do remember. Is that it, Claudine?
That is it.
Oh,
That is
good.
it. Looking lovely.
Oh,
So we've
thank
got
you.
quite a few people on the call. I think we're expecting a few more, but they're coming in as we speak. So I know that we have a hard finish, so I'm going to get a move on. Just a few housekeeping rules for everyone. So you'll have joined the call on mute. Please ensure you stay on mute throughout the session. If you could also turn your video off, not you, Michelle, so that you can only see myself and Baroness Mone. The best way kind of to view this is on speaker view, so you'll see both of us, but the choice is yours. And please write any questions that you have in the chat function, and we'll try and answer them kind of at the end, before the end of the session. But for now, I will start. So
That's a shame you can't see everyone. Why is that rule? I think that rule is bad.
Well, I tell you what, we'll unvideo everybody later, but because the internet is so kind of like, it's so tenuous here, I think if we're doing it, it might all go down. So it's better to keep the video off. But I'll let you see. We'll put it on a few minutes before the end.
I think you should have done this interview 10 o'clock at night so we could all have a G&T together.
That would have been so much better. I have to say, I think I'm going to re-interview you at 10 o'clock at night, one night when we've definitely had a few G&Ts together. I think that's a great idea. So Michelle, obviously I've known you for a long time. You're a friend, you're an amazing woman, and I really, really thank you for giving up the time, because I know how busy you are. And I actually, even though I know you, I actually really struggled with where to start with this interview, because I had so much that I wanted to ask you, and I want to ask you. So I'm sure a lot of people on the call will know something about your background, about Ultimo, and how and when you started your entrepreneurial journey. And instead of me telling everyone, I thought I'd ask you to let us know what you were like as a child, your upbringing, family, and how Ultimo kind of started, really.
So my upbringing, I grew up in the sort of hard East End of Glasgow, and very working class, incredible people. And I just always wanted to do more for my mum and dad, because my brother died when I was just 10, my young brother. And then I decided to start a paper round. And by the time I was 11, I had 17 teenagers working for me. And I went on to a sweet shop, Pick a Pack in Duke Street, and then George the Fruity. And I left school at 15 because my dad woke up paralysed, unfortunately, at the age of 38. So I left school at 15 and that was it. But I was just always very, very determined. And whenever someone would say, oh, you can't do this and you can't do this, I'd go, but why? Why can't you? Why do you have to be so miserable? And that was me, really. And, you know, it was always my aim to buy my mum and dad things for the house. Now, the house was just a 1-bedroom tenement, and I slept in the kind of broom cupboard, and my dad cut this amount off my single bed to fit it in. And, you know, but it was a very happy family. Yeah. But I was just so driven to achieve and to show everyone else that, you know, it doesn't matter where you're from or what education you manage to get. You know, if you want to make it in life, you can do it. Yeah. And that was me. And, you know, that little broom cupboard. And, you know, now I'm kind of, this is my office here, my home office. And, you know, how things have changed, but it could be so different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's amazing. I know how close you are to your mum and dad, and God, how proud they must be of you. How did Ultimo kind of start? Because obviously you were in, well, you tell us how Ultimo started.
Okay, so then when I left school at 15, no one would give me a job. So unfortunately, because I didn't have a national insurance card number, so unfortunately I had to walk up and down a catwalk. I hated it. And I wasn't a supermodel. I was just all right, just because I was tall, and at the time I was skinny. I used to get work. And then I got a job with Labatt's, the beer company, when I was 19. And by the age of 22, I was director of Scotland, and I launched a beer called Labatt Ice Beer and all the rest of it. Then unfortunately, I got made redundant at 24. And I just had my second baby, Declan, then. So I had my first, Rebecca, when I was 20. I had my second when I was 24, Declan. And I just went to a dinner dance one night. I was really, really down and depressed because I'd been made redundant. And I thought, I've got a mortgage, you know, who's going to pay my gas and electricity bills? And I was just worried sick.
Yeah.
And I was wearing an uncomfortable bra. It was a Wonder bra. Yeah. And I thought, this thing is so painful. I need to get this off. So I went to the toilets, I put it in the sanitary bin.
Yeah.
I had enough of it. And I went back to the table at the dinner dance and I said, I'm going to launch a business on Monday. And they said, what do you know about business? And I said, I'm going to invent a bra. And they said, what do you know about bras? And I says, well, I've got a pair of boobs and I'll work it out. And that's just what I did for 3 years of my life, was work it out.
So I'm really fascinated by that because, you know, I've had a couple of ideas, obviously, I thought were brilliant, but I just had no clue where to start with it. So you'd been in sales and marketing for Labatt, and then you came up with your idea a few weeks later. So how do you start with that? How do you even find a manufacturer? You've got an idea. What actually happens next?
So I went to the Apprentice Trust, and they gave me a business advisor and £5,000. And that pretty much started up my office in my bedroom. So I could afford my computer, I could afford money for the prototypes, and everything else. So they helped me, gave me a business advisor. And they then put me in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, who found me this really small manufacturing base in Portugal, Manana land, and that's exactly where it was. And I started manufacturing with them because it was small runs instead of, you know, huge quantities in China. And I just started working with them really closely. And, you know, before I knew it, after, 3.5 years, Ultimo launched at Selfridges in London, and they bought in enough stock for 10 months and it sold out within like 5 hours, and we were in front cover of every newspaper. And really after that, within probably 18 months, we were all around the world, you know, every kind of state in America and Canada, and just everywhere. It was just absolutely phenomenal how the roller coaster started.
It really was. It was amazing. I remember that launch in Selfridges. I even remember like the models outside, and I remember it well. I do.
And that launch, Claudine, cost, you know, I had like 500 quid left.
Yeah.
And I had no money, and the bank was saying, you know, this launch has got to work, because then I kind of put my collateral of the house up to the bank, and so I was like in debt up to my eyeballs. And I thought, right, how am I going to launch against all the big boys like Wonderbra and Gossard? I decided to hire 12 actors, and I dressed them up as plastic surgeons, and I said, you know, hold these banners and shout, ban the Ultimo bra. And they said, why? This is your bra. Why are you wanting us to shout ban it? I said, because just do it, because everyone will be thinking, what are these surgeons doing here? And they were, but they were actors. And even one of them lay down in the road in Oxford Street, and it was just within, you know, half an hour to an hour, we had like over 60 photographers there, everyone saying, what is going on? Why are these surgeons here? So that turned into something like over £40 million of press, and that only cost 500 quid. So
there you go. PR genius, PR genius. So what would your advice be for anyone that's now got an idea but doesn't really know where to start, or how do they even get investment and backing? Kind of where would they start with that?
Well, I think first of all, you've got to be passionate and determined, and you've got to work out, if you do need a partner for investment, who do you see yourself getting on with? Because if you don't get on, then there's no point. And you know, you've got to sacrifice. I sacrificed so much for Ultimo that sometimes I thought, God, how did I do that? Why did I do that? You know, I just had my third baby, like days before the launch at Selfridges. And, you know, I left the baby with my mum because I had to do it. She arrived 4 weeks early. But you've got to sacrifice, make sacrifices, and it's never going to be easy. It's going to be a roller coaster. And I just think, believe in it, believe in yourself, because if you doubt yourself for 1 minute or your product or your service, then everything else will doubt it. You will get there if you have got sheer determination.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know it's probably a question, I asked Lord Sugar the same question. It's probably a question you've been asked hundreds of times, but kind of what qualities do you think you need to succeed for any budding entrepreneurs? I suppose you kind of answered that about the passion, but do you think that you're born as an entrepreneur, or do you think it can be taught?
I think it can be taught, for sure. I think for me, I was born with it, but you know, if you've got the ingredients, as we said, the passion, the determination, the can-do attitude, the work ethic, you know, I didn't have a holiday for about 15 years. And, you know, you're not a lazy bee, then, you know, you will make it. So I think you've got to be able to take risk. You know, still I take risks all the time. But
I was going to... That's funny, because that's what he said. He said exactly the same thing. He said, I'm a gambler, not in the sense of kind of like putting it on red or black, but in business, I take kind of gambles.
Yeah, all the time. But I can afford to take those risks now. Whereas back then, I didn't. If I lost it, I lost it, because I didn't really have a lot to lose. But now I take calculated risks. So which of all the risks you've taken, which one are you most proud of because it paid off, and which one surprised you the most because it came off? I took a risk, I suppose, launching several inventions. So in Ultimo, 17 inventions, global inventions, because I thought I can't have all my eggs in one basket. You know, I can't just invent the world's first gel-filled bra. And sorry guys who are listening, but a lot of guys hate me as well. I get all home on Friday night and I get shouted at. But I think that the gamble was to push the business on all the time and reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. Organic growth, and you know, it kept us alive. It kept us in the press. You know, 1 minute invented the gel-filled bra, then it was a backless body. Then it was the frontless backless body, the backless bra, the lightest bra in the world, you name it, you know, me and the team were doing it. And so that was a big gamble, and it paid off big time. I mean, Gossard and Underbra were sick to death of us. You know, and it just went on from starting in my bedroom. And then I sold out to, you know, one of the biggest intimate apparel companies in the world with 63,000 people. And the brand was just, you know, huge then. I've sold out completely, you know, now 5 years ago. And they've offered me to buy it back, but
you're done.
I've moved on so much like that. That was then and this is now. And
so what would you say the biggest mistake you made in your career, and what did you learn from that?
I'd say the biggest mistake I learned was I was, you know, and it's history now, but I was, my ex-husband joined the business 3 years later after I started it. And there was a couple that wanted to be the distributor in Canada and America. So for Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's. And I said to him, I don't trust them, because I've always got this incredible intuition. I think a lot of women do have that. And I said, please don't give them anything. And if you're going to give them it, then ask for the stores to pay us first, and then we'll give them the commission, 20%, I think it was. And he just basically said, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And I should have put my foot down more, but he was quite headstrong. And then, yep, within 6 months, they ran away with 1.4 million, I think it was.
Oh my
But
God.
all 10 months of stock. So that meant that all the stores, when they were running out, we couldn't replenish the stock. So that was probably the biggest mistake ever. But it was, in hindsight, it was the best mistake I ever made, because that was probably one of the worst times in my life, where I had to save the company. And story about that as well. But but you live and learn, and you know, it's nice to look back and think, what did I learn out of that? And I have learned a lot out of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So you were asked by the then Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, to conduct the Mone Review, which was into helping startup, like an insight into helping startup businesses in deprived areas. So can you kind of let us know what you did and which businesses kind of flourished on the back of that?
Well, I started off from John O'Groats to Land End, and you know, really found out what do we need to do to encourage more people to go into business in deprived areas. And it was all about community support. And eventually, when I finished it, well, it took me 10 months to do it, HSBC started to open up hubs to help these businesses, so they could all get together and they could have, you know, an entrepreneur speaking once a week, and they could have a free desk and to help people. And they didn't just have to be HSBC customers. So that's what came out of that. And, I think when I launched it, it wasn't long after that, because I did it for David Cameron and Ian Duncan Smith. And I think the next day after that, Ian Duncan Smith resigned. I was like, oh God. But no, it was very, very interesting. And I still have meetings, you know, with authorities about it, how we can encourage more entrepreneurs and what we do. And in fact, Doug and I have just invested in a company that will be launching next year called Neospace. And it's a 5-star office, and the tagline is work, rest and play. So in the top of the building you can get these pods and you can sleep, and in the main office it looks like a hotel. It's stunning. But it's a lot. Where is it? Well, we're going to launch it first in Aberdeen, 52,000 square feet. And it's got a golf simulator in there, a gym, yoga classes.
Sounds amazing.
Juice bar, just everything that we would love to have in our space here at home. Can I put into 52,000 square feet. So we hope to, you know, roll them out throughout the country.
Yeah, sure. Interesting, especially with what's going on at the moment with working from home and office space, and I'll come back to that kind of in a minute. But do you still work with the Prince's Trust? Because I know you have done a lot with the Prince's Trust.
Yeah, well, as I said, they gave me £5,000 and I couldn't thank them enough for that. So then His Royal Highness Prince Charles asked me to join the board. So I sat on the board for 12 years.
Wow.
I had to resign just with work commitments, but I absolutely love that charity. In fact, Doug is a huge supporter of the Prince's Trust. He just built a centre for them, a brand new centre in Manchester, which is an incredible place. He's a kind of very charitable guy as well. So we set up the Barrowman Foundation. We also just built 12 schools in Africa and building more. And, you know, our aim is to help underprivileged kids.
That's really lovely.
We're both from the same part in Glasgow.
That's lovely. So giving back. So have you been busier or less busy in lockdown? Because I can imagine that there are a lot of people that need kind of motivational speakers, and as I know, you are one of the best.
Oh, thank you, Claudine. I'm not sure about that. But I've just, I've not been doing a lot of speaking events. I think I've just done a lot to help people. Webinars like and what you're doing today. And I've just been so busy. So
Yeah.
Doug and I normally travel 2 hours a day. So we've been using that time to go out in the garden and do a boot camp.
Yeah.
And training and walking. We go for walks at night for like 2 hours. So we absolutely loved it. And but I know that it's been dreadful for people out there that are in a small apartment, no garden.
Yeah.
You know, in there living, seeing your husband, your wife night and day, not used to it, not getting your space. I know it's been torture for a lot of people, but we just thought we have to make the most of this and basically turned, you know, that negative into a positive.
Yeah.
So
you'll be going out walking a lot soon with 3 dogs. For everyone on the call, Michelle's getting 3 puppies next week, so she's certainly getting, anyone that's had 1 puppy will know that she's going to have her hands full. A lot of walking.
They're now 8 weeks.
They're beautiful.
So we're pretty scared about it. So Doug and I went to see them, and there was a litter of 9 puppies, and there was 6 boys and 3 girls, and we only went there to get 1.
Oh, right.
The 3 boys wouldn't leave us both alone.
Yeah.
So he said, right, we're getting 1. Like, please, we just get 2. And he says, right, okay, what 2 then? I went, oh, this is really hard. I says, right, these 2. And we went in the car, and he says, right, you happy now? And I went, no, not really. And he said, why? I said, because we left the other boy. And he says, don't you start. Just don't start. Anyway, there was one night after a few G&Ts, and he went, are you happy? And I went, no, not really. What about the other boy? And he went, just call the women now and we'll take it. So,
well, I'm waiting to see, because for everyone on the call, while I was chatting to Michelle before, she said she's going to pick up her 6 puppies on next week. And I was like, 6? And she was like, yeah, so who knows what might come out of when you actually go to pick them up.
But it's been, Claudine, it's been really, really, I don't know, bad. I'm nesting, I'm tidying cupboards, getting ready for them. And
I'll just give you a tip, Michelle. Move all your shoes and handbags off any floor space, because they'll be gone.
Yeah, I know. Well, we built them their own house.
Of course.
We built them their own house, and it's got this industrial bath in it that's got a lift, and there's a dryer. You put them into the dryer.
I've seen it.
6 seconds. Have you seen it?
I've seen it online. I've seen something.
I called up the woman and she said, are you starting a new business? Because this is professional equipment. I went, yeah, I've got 3 puppies. Read it. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, please do. So you've got 2 homes, haven't you? You've got one in the Isle of Man and one in London. Have you been able to go between the 2, and have you managed to see your family, or have you been kind of stuck?
Well, so we live between here and Isle of Man, London. We've got a home in Scotland, south of France and St Bart's, so 5. And it's been really difficult. But I think if it wasn't for Zoom, you know, FaceTime, talking to my family, then it would have been so much harder. But on a Friday night, we used to all have dinner together. We see everyone, and I think that, you know, that's what's made it easier for, I think, everyone. And my mum and dad, my mum unfortunately had breast cancer last year, and the Royal Marsden, oh my God, saved her life. So she's vulnerable, and my dad is in obviously the wheelchair, so he's vulnerable. So it's been harder for them not to see their grandkids and stuff. But
of course,
it's been, you know, there's a lot of people out there. It's been far worse.
Oh, a lot. So on that subject, how do you think that Boris, and I have to ask you about Nicola Sturgeon, have handled this whole crisis? And on a follow-up from that, I suppose, kind of, I'm hearing a lot of people talking now about the fact that they think that younger people with no underlying conditions just need to get back on with their lives, get back to their offices, go back socialising. Are you in favour of that, or do you think there still needs to be lockdowns like there are?
Well, I think, first of all, this has been the unknown for all of us. And it's not just been a crisis here in the UK, but all around the world. every country, you know, we just don't know what this virus is going to do.
Yeah.
So I think hindsight, again, is a wonderful thing. I think looking back on this, when we do our post-mortem, I think we'll probably do things a little bit differently. And, you know, what I think we need to do going forward is that we need to get people back into work. We need to protect the vulnerable, protect the nurse homes, the elderly, protect all of them. I think every single person should wear a face mask when they're going out. And I don't agree with these just cloth face masks. It's got to be a medical grade face mask, because that's how you're really protected. And we've got to get on with it, because our economy at the moment is dreadful. And if we don't get on with it and save the economy, then I really do fear for a depression. Not a recession, a depression. So we have to save our economy and protect the vulnerable. And if you're going to get the virus, I think, you know, what I've heard, and I know that there's been a lot of people that have died because of it and all the rest of it. And you know, I'm sorry for that. But I fear that if we don't get on with it, there's going to be more deaths on top of the coronavirus deaths, in terms of treating people for cancer, in terms of mental health, where people are worried about paying their bills, abuse in the household as well, because they're all worried about money and the relationships, you know, failing because of that. We really need to, we've got to live with this virus and get on with it.
Because as you say, the economy, it seems to be like a toss-up between the health of the nation and the economy. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen to the economy in the future in the next 5 years, because from what you can say, we are going to have to live with this for a while. And we just have to think, what is the best way to kind of protect the economy and protect us as well?
I think what you will see is that testing will become vital. You know, it is vital at the moment, but it'll be faster. Instead of waiting 3-4 days for your results, you'll get them instantly. So if you're going to your office, for example, in Holborn, then, you know, everyone's got to show their test within the last hour, that they're fine, and temperature and all the rest of it. So I think that will become a big track and trace, will become a much bigger thing. And if you look at, you know, the Hong Kong, that's exactly what they're doing. Hong Kong have handled the whole thing amazingly well. When you land at the airport, you get tested. If you're positive, you get taken away in a white van.
Yes, I know.
If you're negative, you still get taken away in another van. And you're told to stay in, and they tag you for a few weeks. So if you leave, they basically come and they arrest you. So there's a lot of things there as well. And it's the Isle of Man, it's normal here. The border is closed. But when I go to London on Sunday and I come back here, I have to stay in for 2 weeks. And if you don't, they're giving out jail sentences up to 10 weeks. And I don't want to be the first Baroness in the Isle of Man.
I don't think so. I don't think you'll do very well in that.
It's like a lovely prison though. It's got, you know, it's got everything in there. I don't fancy it.
No, I can imagine. So obviously quite a lot of companies have suffered during the pandemic, but what would your advice be to companies that obviously everyone's seeking to grow, but what should their priorities be going forward?
I think you've really got to think outside the box, and you've got to diversify. And you know, sometimes in a crisis, you can, you know, move on to much bigger and better things. I think keep your nerve if you can, and run a lean machine. Just use the time to think, right, what's the talent in this company? What's a USP, unique selling point? Where can we go? How can we open up other markets? You know, for example, the restaurant industry. You know, when all the restaurants were closed, who would have thought that you get Nobu delivered to your house? So that was them being really creative. We still, on a Saturday night in London, still have a really good meal, fancy meal, but have it to your home.
Yeah.
And you know, they were the busiest, and Novikov, what's it called?
Novikov.
Novikov, sorry.
Yeah.
They all started delivering as well. So
Yeah.
they kept their staff on, and they kept their turnover up. So
Yeah.
just got to think, how can we just change things?
Yeah.
And you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah. And what's your view? I mean, I have had to come into the office a few times, and it is so quiet in London. So what's your view on London and various other decimated cities around kind of the UK? You know, people are talking about the fact that actually they like working from home, they want to continue to work from home. What do you think they'll ever get back to, like the bustling hubs that they used to be, or do you think that's kind of finished? That cities, it's all about the suburbs, and cities won't get back to being like that?
I think London will get back to the buzz, and other cities as well, because that's what, you know, keeps business going.
Yeah.
And it's okay working from home as long as you're disciplined.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start saying, oh, you know, I'm going to put on the washing machine, I'm going to start emptying the dishwasher, and doing all your other household things, and start to really become a house husband, a bleak housewife, and the business suffers, then, you know, that's not going to be good for business. I do think, though, the travelling to London, for example, if you've been travelling 2 hours a day,
Yeah.
you can use that time so much more. Use it on yourself, i.e., go out to the garden and do a boot camp, or go for a walk, and family time. You know, there's been a lot of people that have loved it because they're baking with the family and painting with the family and everything.
Yeah.
But once you go over that tip and the business starts to suffer, then that's not a good thing. So you have to be disciplined, very disciplined, working from home.
Yeah. Remember, everyone, you can write any questions in the chat, because there aren't any yet. I'm obviously asking all the right questions. Michelle, we've got a lot of people that are on the phone that are on a great trajectory kind of in their career. Yep. I'm finding that now 8 months in, people are feeling tired and worn out with what is like the new normal, and with most people working remotely, I think there is a feeling that it's harder to progress because they're not with their peers like every day. What advice would you give to keep them going, keep them motivated, and how can they develop their career whilst in effect at home on their own?
Well, I think, first of all, listening to your chat today, you know, will hopefully they'll pick out some, you know, ideas and inspired a little bit. And I think try and join groups like what you're doing. YouTube is amazing. And also fitness. When you give yourself an hour a day in fitness, it's just incredible what it does to you. You know, when I was exceptionally overweight, 8.5 stone overweight, I was always kind of a bit more doom and gloom. I give myself an hour every single day. And it's amazing when you do it. You don't want to do it, but when you do it and you finish it, it makes you a lot more positive.
Do you have the same hour? Do you do it like 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, or just
not at some all the time? I just do it when, you know, I feel that I need that hour. So it just depends where we are in the world as well. But I think don't be afraid of asking for help. Say, I need support. Can you help me out here? To your colleagues, to your family. And, you know, in YouTube, there's a lot of incredible speakers on there, TED Talk. And, you know, sometimes when you watch some of them, you're so hyped up, you know. So I'd say just use the technology, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
So you were on the Celebrity Apprentice a while ago, weren't you?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
12
maybe.
Was it? You were on the Best Bits the other day. I don't know if you saw it. There was they're doing the Apprentice, the Best Bits, 6 weeks of it, and you were on it, I think, last week.
I was on it last week. Yeah, I was actually out in the Isle of Man for my birthday.
And, happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks. And I was so young then, and
So
Yeah,
was it, who were you work, like, who were you work, did you win? Did you win?
yeah, I headed up the girls team, and we were against Jonathan Ross and Alan Carr, and Carol Vorderman was in my team and everything else. Yeah, and what an experience it was. But I was really scared, you know, of Lord Sugar, and every time I went into that boardroom, he used to scare the living daylights out of me.
He is quite scary.
But I loved it, and yeah, it was great fun. I'd never do
Oh,
it again.
so what next then? Strictly Come Dancing, Dragon's Den? Is there something like that lined up for you?
Claudine, I've been offered just about every
I
single
can imagine.
reality TV show, and it's a no for me,
Yeah.
because I'm not in the business to be a celebrity. It just so happened that Ultimo became really famous around the world. But I love my life, just me and Doug.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I stopped, I sold Ultimo. I kind of didn't want to be in the limelight anymore, but
Yeah.
you can't pick and choose that. But I'm certainly not going to devote my energy into becoming a celebrity, and
Yeah.
because our life and my family comes first.
Yeah.
So I love watching them, but I don't want to be in these shows.
Fair enough. So I've got two questions. I've got two questions. I was hoping to see you in one of those because I can imagine you'd be amazing. So the first question is from Corinne Carter, and she says, you will have seen some pretty horrendous business plans pitched to you over the years. What do you think is the thing that makes you take the most notice when you read one?
I think, first of all, if it's different and if it's an invention, for me, I'm an inventor, I'm a designer, marketeer and everything. So if it's an invention for me and it's something different, then I love that. I love something that's not already there.
Yeah.
And then after that, it depends on when you meet the person and you look into the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
Again, you know, do they have that passion and determination?
Yeah.
It's all right,
Yeah.
having an idea, but if you don't have that determination to take it through, then there's no point. So you've got to have the two of them together. And sometimes it could be ideas that are already there, you know, like mine was already a bra. Women have been wearing bras for centuries. So it's it can just be an idea that you make better.
Yeah.
So for me, it's something that you can't buy already.
Yeah. Got a question from Lloyd from Money Supermarket. Any practical tips on how you are effectively leading and engaging a business and your teams remotely?
Sorry, say that again, Claudine.
So are there any practical tips on how you're effectively leading or engaging a business or your teams remotely? So obviously you're having to work remotely and you've got a team of people that work with you. So what are the tips to keep engaged with them?
Well, again, technology has moved on so much that, you know, if it wasn't for technology, for Zoom, what we're doing right now, then it would have been a real struggle to keep everything going. Yeah. So I think that have, you know, a coffee morning with your team, and how you get on, what we're going to do today, or catch up once a week, to make everyone feel that they're needed and wanted. And, you know, sort of do like, this is what Johnny did this week, this is what Hazel did this week. Yeah. And how we're going to get over this, you know, with this difficult customer. Anyone get any ideas, and really bounce off one another. Yeah. And you can do all that. I mean, that's a really good advice. I feel as if you're in my room right now, and and that's good. I can see clearly and I can hear clearly. So no, I think that's really good advice. So Money Supermarket, they've got great adverts. I love their adverts. Yeah, they have. Through you, do they? Yeah, they do. I offer media for them. Exactly. Right, I've got two more for the time being. So one, the organisation I work for is going through a restructure with additional redundancies planned as a result of COVID. What's your advice to prepare for the worst case scenario and turn this into a positive opportunity? Okay, so plan B. I've always got a plan B. And I think that if you're working for a company where you know that they're just about to, you know, do redundancies, just take it on the chin. And if you've got your plan B, then sometimes you need to jump. And sometimes, you know, we've all got to be pushed a little bit and pushed outside your comfort zone. And, you know, like me, if I wasn't made redundant, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd probably be working for maybe Budweiser.
Yeah.
My dad used to love all the free samples. So, and I'm here right now in the Isle of Man. So, you only live once, and you may as well just, you know, go for it, and just and trust. I'm a very religious person.
Yeah.
So trust, you know, for me, I trust the Lord above.
Yeah.
I'm not that as if it's a Sunday, but I trust the Lord above to guide me and to look after me. And,
so that's interesting, because it kind of goes on to another question from Candice, which is, now more than ever, we need a good support network around us for personal and business reasons. Who's in your core support network? Who do you kind of trust, especially from a business standpoint? Who's in your kind of, like, you know, ring of trust, if you like?
I never ever thought I'd meet, you know, a business guy, an entrepreneur. And for me, Doug, I look up to him a lot, because, you know, he's got like 55 businesses and a huge team. And I think, oh my God, how the hell does he do that? And I've learned so much from him. Yeah. But more than that, I trust him, and, you know, he's my rock. Yeah. And my mum and dad, my kids. So I would say that I don't kind of look up to, I know all the famous business people, but what starts here off, family first. Yeah. Because they'll tell you the truth. Yeah. And they'll tell you if you're out of order as well. Yeah. Yeah. My mum will say, you're too big for your boots. You know, you remember where you were from, where you were born. Oh, yeah, I remember, Mum.
Yeah, I love you, Mum. I've got a question from Robin that says, obviously you are proof that business is not just a man's world. What advice would you give to women within businesses to succeed?
Well, the thing is that I never ever compete with a guy. Never compete with a guy. And I think that there's room for both of us. Mm-hmm. And if we work more together, we'll gain more together. So I've never thought of guys as a threat. And, you know, I've always got myself involved when, say, I know that they have their football and their rugby and their cricket and everything else, but I've always said in the company, I want to come as well. Yeah. But I know that they've got a bigger support group in terms of all these activities that they do. I just think you just need to, as a woman, relax and not look for the negatives. And just look,
how having a strong female support network is a good thing to have, isn't it? To kind of like,
I think that women, if I was to criticise a little bit, is that we need to help each other more. I think sometimes we can be a bit bitchy, and we need to help one another. And you know. And all this thing about, you know, we've got to have so many women on the board and everything. Yes, I fully support women, but you've got to earn your place. I would hate to be there just because I'm wearing a bra. Yeah. I want to be there for my skill set. Yeah. And I think women, we just need to grow a little bit thicker skin and not be as sensitive, and just power on through. I mean, some of the things that I've been told, you know, in my career, and I'm not going to mention them, but some guys, when you get into their office and some of the sexual comments and stuff like that, and I turn it on them. Yeah. So, you know, if they were to say, oh, you're all right, love, why don't you bend over the desk and everything? I go, sorry, why don't you bend over the desk? So I used to just always turn it around. And not let them get to me, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of it is banter as well. Yeah. And if we can't have a bit of banter, then where are we all going to be in the world? Sometimes I think we've all become a little bit too politically correct.
So I can't not ask you about this, Michelle, because you look absolutely incredible. And I know that you've said numerous times that you've had to treat your body like a business because, as you say, you've lost 8.5 stone. And I mean, that I know myself, that takes some doing. So are you always very, very strict with yourself, or do you occasionally have a big roast with roast potatoes and a glass of wine?
Yes, I do have like a roast dinner and stuff like that, but I know when I need to pull back.
Yeah.
So before I used to lose the weight, and then if I cheated a little bit, I'd put it all back on again because I could never get on that track again. Now, if I cheat a little bit, I go, that was lovely, but now I'm back to being good. And I think it's just a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And I love vegetables. I never used to eat vegetables until I was about 35.
Yeah.
So I love vegetables and I love feeling healthy.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love my gin and tonics. Wine for me makes me have Beyonce hips. So I've got to stay away from the wine. So I think when you know your own body and you treat your body like a business and you think, well, I wouldn't treat my business like that. And, you know, I'm kind to myself where I wasn't before. I used to abuse myself.
Yeah.
And I used to hate myself.
Yeah.
So now I want to look after myself.
You're very
I don't do it where I can't have a laugh. For example, tonight in Isle of Man, the border is shut here, but we've got no social distancing. Everything's normal. You know, no infected people here at all.
Yeah.
And tonight we're going out to a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know when to have my fun.
I want to
and that's it. And but then tomorrow I'll pull back and I'll drink lots of water and I'll work out a little bit, sweat the alcohol off me.
I'm jealous. So I've got a really
in moderation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are. I know you. You're very, very focused. You're very focused in whatever you do.
I won't be tonight.
No, good.
I'll be focused singing Whitney Houston.
Good. I like that. I like the sound of that. So I've got a question from someone who says, I'm setting up a coaching business to cut the cycle of sickness and stress in business and in our relationships with ourselves. With our new virtual ways of working, what advice would you give her to getting in front of leaders who are looking for this type of solution?
For me, the tool, and I just became their kind of global ambassador last month, and an influencer. Never thought I'd become an influencer in life. And that's on LinkedIn. And it's incredible who you can connect with on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I would say use that tool. And then if you want to connect with your customers, social media, Instagram, you know, I never had any of that when I started Ultimo.
Yeah.
But I think to connect to people, the LinkedIn, and you can send people a direct message and stuff, is better than sending a letter through the post, because that'll just in. So I would say, and also, how can you get to that person and ask them a favour? Who do they know to get yourself in front of them?
Good, very good advice. Very good advice. So I've got a couple more questions for you because I know we have a hard stop. What are your personal and professional challenges and opportunities for the next couple of years?
To start saying no. We're getting married finally in the next number of weeks. We've had 3 cancelled weddings, and I think, you know, I've achieved a lot in my career so far, and I can hopefully start to relax. But saying that, I discussed another new business yesterday with Doug, and he's like, yeah, let's go for it. It's learning to say no, and I need to learn to say no. And you know, our dream is we want to buy a sailing yacht and go sailing around the world. So I think that will happen in the next couple of years.
My internet has just gone. Michelle, are you there?
Are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. I didn't know whether it was me or you.
Sorry. And just take it easy a wee bit more, you know, instead of pushing myself all the time.
Well, I was just going to say, if you need anyone on the boat to help you, I'm available. I'm available.
Yeah, well,
I love a boat.
We want to do it. You can come on. No problem, you and David. But I think what we need to do is find another few senior people to be in the group. So that's what we're going out there to find is a kind of number. We've got number twos, but it's a few more of them that we need. Okay. And then we can take it easy a little bit. But and also spend more time. We've started this foundation together called the Barrowman Foundation, and to give back more, you know, because we all can do more.
Which is lovely. Absolutely.
To be working on that a bit more, because I think this stage in our life, that's what we should be doing now. So my penultimate question is, what actually keeps you awake at night? And you're not allowed to say coffee or Doug, okay? Ideas. I mean, at the moment, I'm waking up at 3:30 every morning and my head is buzzing. If only I could just stop that would be amazing to have a good night's sleep. But I'm full of ideas all the time. And it does keep me awake at night. And I'm like kind of exhausted when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
But last night I slept through the night, which was good. It's just ideas. I'm just full of them. And I've always been like that.
That's brilliant. Yeah. That is brilliant. Michelle, listen, you are, honestly, you're such an inspiration. I mean, at the age of 15, when your dad fell ill, you were forced to leave school, got a job as head of sales and marketing at Bats, which you excelled at. Then after an epiphany, you launched Ultimo, became a multi-millionaire, winning numerous awards after awards, and had 3 children during that time. Sold the company, got an OBE, got a peerage, lost 8 stone, met the love of your life, getting married this year and getting 3 puppies. So that is quite some story. What is next for you?
As I said, you know, just maybe slow down, be a bit more, enjoy our marriage, enjoy the family, and give more back as well. And, you know, I just want to show kids out there that, you know, if you start off with that really hard start, that you can turn your life around. You know, I'm dyslexic as well. I'm really bad. And I was a complete write-off with my school teachers and everything else. And, you know, it's just to show kids out there, no matter what colour your skin is, no matter what religion you are and what start you had, that you can make something of your life.
Well, you have definitely done that. You have definitely done that. And I really, you know, Michelle gave up her time for me today, which I really appreciate, and for everyone. And I have to say that a few years ago at Wackle Women in Advertising, somebody kind of very senior let us down 2 days before when we have 500 people, and Michelle stepped in. I'm not saying Michelle, I can't say. Michelle stepped in at the last minute and literally wowed everybody, and was very generous and gracious with her time. So Michelle, thank you so much. I hope you have the most amazing evening tonight. Everyone can put their videos on now so Michelle can see them.
And thanks for everyone for listening to my rubbish for the last 45 minutes.
I've got a massive thank you, really interesting and motivating. Thank you, great session. So it's everyone's, oh look, you can see people now if you go in the view. So if you go onto gallery view.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, you can see everyone. So give Michelle a wave.
Thank you. Thanks very much for listening, and I just wish all of you the best, and keep your spirits high. And Claudine, you're another incredible woman. You're an inspiration as well, what you've done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to coming to your Christmas party, Claudine.
Oh, absolutely, Michelle. You know, we know we can party together. And thank you everyone who came on the call for making the time and for asking your questions. And I'll let you know about the next one in a few weeks' time.
And what I need to do is get a pair of headphones, because I always see people, you know, with the headphones when they're doing this Zoom thing. So I need to get a pair of them.
I know, it's very professional.
It does. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.